Hello dear viewers. Today, we're sharing a deeply touching story, the miraculous journey of little Jack, the son of Deep and James. From the silent days of waiting to the magical moment when he first said Mom and Dad, this story will surely melt your heart. Jack is the beloved son of Deep and James, a child they waited for with endless love and hope. However, Jack's delayed speech development brought the family many days filled with worry, confusion, and even despair. Despite it all, their love for him never wavered. Then one quiet morning, a miracle happened. Jack spoke his first words, Mom, then Dad. Deep and James were overwhelmed with joy and emotion. That simple moment marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. From then on, Jack gradually learned to speak more. He started preschool, made friends, and shared the most innocent, heartwarming stories with his parents at the dinner table. Those simple little words became precious treasures to their small family. Each word Jack uttered was proof of perseverance, the power of unconditional love, and the strength of never giving up. This is not just a story about a child learning to speak, it's the story of an entire family growing together, hand in hand, through love and patience. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share it with your loved ones, and subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt, inspiring journeys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. The moment Jack was born, Deep and James' small home was filled with laughter and joy. Each passing day was a journey full of happiness, challenges, but above all, a sweet anticipation, the first words from their child. It was the moment Deep and James had dreamed of since they first saw Jack's eyes. They longed for, counted the days, and imagined the moment when their child would say "Ba" and me, simple words, yet with a profound and special power. Every moment of taking care of Jack, whether it was feeding him or bathing him, Deep would gently whisper his name, teaching him to recognize the world around him. Jack, look, this is the spoon, isn't it beautiful? Deep smiled softly. Jack would look up at his mother, his bright eyes seemingly paying full attention to every word, even though he couldn't respond with words yet. But in those eyes, Deep could sense the understanding forming inside him. James was just as enthusiastic. Every day, he would tell Jack funny stories, making him laugh out loud. Daddy is going to tell you a story about a cat. This cat loves to eat fish, but he never eats the fish alone because he always has a friend. Do you like friends? James said, pulling a funny face, making Jack laugh uncontrollably. That was the simple, yet immense joy for them, because every time they saw their child laugh, they knew Jack was gradually understanding the world around him, in his own innocent way. However, Deep and James still couldn't help but yearn for their child's first words. One afternoon, when the whole family was sitting together in the living room, Deep turned to James, her eyes filled with concern. Honey, why hasn't Jack said anything yet? All the other kids his age are starting to babble, but Jack is still so quiet. James laughed and held her close. "Don't worry, everything will come at the right time. Jack is a smart and special child. He just needs some time." Deep nodded, but in her heart, she still felt a little anxious. She didn't want to pressure Jack, but she couldn't help but feel worried when other kids his age were already starting to say words like mom or dad. But James was always the steady one, always reminding her he'll speak when he's ready. And so, the waiting continued, day by day, but it never stopped. Deep in James believed that in their peaceful little world, Jack would find his voice one day soon. Every hour, every minute, they patiently taught Jack simple things, from the spoon, the cup, to the words in his books. Deep would write down notes of things to do to teach Jack. Even though he couldn't respond yet, she knew that Jack was absorbing everything, silently but deeply. Whenever Deep would hold Jack's hand, kiss his hair, and softly say, "Mommy loves you so much, Jack, do you know that?" Jack would usually look at her with his wide, innocent eyes and smile, as if understanding a little part of her words. Each smile was a sign, a faint light of a brighter tomorrow, when he would soon call out Dad and Mom in the sweetest way. For Deep and James, the fact that Jack couldn't speak right now wasn't something to worry about, but rather a part of his journey to grow. They both understood that when Jack was ready, he would open his heart and give his first loving words. But while they waited, they never stopped loving Jack even more, never stopped creating wonderful moments together, so that Jack would know that no matter how long it took, his parents were always there, always loving him. It was a gentle autumn morning. Sunlight streamed through the window, bathing the small room in a warm golden hue. Jack was playing in the corner with his colorful wooden blocks. Deep was preparing a bottle of milk, while James was fixing a few broken toys. Everything was happening just like any other day, peaceful, calm, and full of love. No one expected that, in just a few moments, their entire world would change forever. Jack was playing with a green block, gently pushing it toward Deep. She looked at him and gently asked, "Do you want this one? The green block, Jack?" Jack didn't answer. He simply stared at his mother. His lips moved slightly, and his eyes looked as if he were trying to say something. Then, the miracle happened. In a soft, raspy but clear voice, Jack said, "Mom." Time seemed to freeze. Deep stood still, her eyes wide, the bottle in her hand trembling. She turned quickly to look at Jack, unsure if she had heard correctly. "Jack, what did you just say?" Jack looked at her again, his lips curling into a gentle smile, and repeated, "Mom." In that moment, Deep could no longer hold back her emotions. Tears burst forth as she rushed to hug her son, burying her face into his soft hair, sobbing, "Jack, you called me Mom. You really said it." The sound caught James's attention. He looked up to see Deep clutching Jack tightly, crying and laughing at the same time. He hurried over, puzzled. "What's going on, honey?" Deep looked up, her eyes brighter than ever before. "He just called me Mom." "Did you hear it?" "He can talk now." James froze, staring at Jack in astonishment. He knelt down beside them, gently touching his son's shoulder. "Jack, it's Dad. Can you try calling me, son?" Jack hesitated, his eyes sparkling, and then, "Dad." That was the very first time Mom and Dad echoed inside their little home. Those short words suddenly became a ringing bell in their hearts, a sound that swept away all the anxiety and exhaustion that had weighed on them for so long. James pulled both mother and son into his arms, his usually steady face now tearful. "You're amazing, my boy. You were just waiting for the right moment, weren't you?" From that moment on, their home was lit up with a new kind of light. No more waiting, no more doubt, only certainty, only love, and pure joy. In the days that followed, Deep and James seemed to float in a state of bliss. They couldn't stop retelling that magical moment to each other, even if it was already the 10th time that day. Every night, Deep wrote in her journal. That night's entry read, "Today is the most unforgettable day of my life as a mother. Jack called me Mom. I've waited for this day for almost 3 years, day after day, night after night. Turns out, when love is strong enough, it always finds a way to be returned." James immediately called his parents overseas, barely able to speak through his joyful tears. "Our boy can talk now, Mom, Dad. He called me Dad, and Deep Mom. I've never witnessed anything so magical." From that point on, Jack's first words began to multiply. At first, it was short words like eat, water, car, then small phrases, "Daddy, where's Mommy? Jack's hungry." Every new word felt like winning a gold medal. No need for big parties or expensive gifts, just tight hugs, radiant smiles, and sparkling eyes of joy. One evening, while reading picture books together, Jack suddenly turned to Deep with his tender little voice and asked, "Mommy, why can I talk now?" Deep laughed and kissed his forehead. "Because you're a brave boy. You waited for the right time, and you did it." Jack tilted his head and replied softly, "I love Mommy." Deep held him close again, her eyes brimming with tears. Perhaps no other language was necessary, simple words like these were enough to fill the whole world with love. The moment Jack spoke was not just a developmental milestone, it was a living testament to the patience, love, and unwavering faith his parents had placed in him. It was the sweetest reward that parenthood could bring, not measurable by time, effort, or money, but only by the heart. Since the day Jack called out Dad and Mom, everything in Deep and James's life took on a new color. Their small home was no longer filled with just laughter, but now also sweet, clear sounds from Jack, his very first words, his innocent questions, and the endless babble of stories that barely made sense. Each passing day, Jack bloomed like a flower, petal by petal, more vibrant and alive than ever before. Deep clearly remembered the first morning after Jack began speaking. He ran to her bedside, gently shook her hand, and called out, "Mommy, wake up and play with me." It was such a simple sentence for most children, yet for Deep, it was the most beautiful sound in the world. She jumped up and hugged Jack tightly, afraid that this sweet dream might suddenly vanish. James couldn't stop capturing every tiny moment of his son's progress. He bought an extra camera to record each time Jack said a new word, when he counted numbers, named colors, or pointed at animals. James chuckled and said, "When he grows up, we'll show him these videos." So Jack knows how much joy his first words brought to this family. Jack soon started preschool. Deep had once worried whether her son would be able to adapt, whether he could talk to his teachers and friends. But those worries quickly faded. On his first day, Jack cheerfully told his teacher, "My name is Jack. These are my mommy and daddy." The teacher bent down with a warm smile and said, "Hello, Jack. You're such a good boy." Deep stood nearby, overwhelmed. Tears quietly rolled down her cheeks, not from anxiety, but from pure happiness. Joy at seeing her son confident, cheerful, and able to use words to connect with the world. Months later, Jack was telling stories about school. One evening, during dinner, he shared excitedly, "Today I played doctor. I was the doctor, Thursday was the patient. I checked her and gave her syrup." James laughed and asked, "So was Dr. Jack good at his job?" Jack nodded proudly. "Very good. The teacher even said I spoke clearly." Small stories like that filled every meal, every bedtime. Once, Deep and James had longed just to hear a single word from their son. Now, they were surrounded by a sea of sweet, adorable chatter. Every word Jack spoke felt like magic, a confirmation that he was growing, steady and bright. Their family bond grew even stronger. The three of them often gathered to read books, play pretend, or simply talk about how their day went. Deep loved teaching Jack simple children's songs. He would sing off-key, out of rhythm, but his eyes sparkled with joy. "Mommy, can I sing more?" "Of course. You sing so well." Jack would continue humming, his little voice full of passion, making everyone laugh with happiness. To Deep and James, Jack wasn't just their son, he was a living miracle in their lives. He had once made them wait, worry, and cry, but then brought them back love, hope, and a joy they had never known before. Sometimes James would sit alone, reflecting on everything they'd been through, and think, maybe all those challenges were meant to help us cherish what we have now. Because real love requires time, trust, and a whole lot of patience. One night, Jack sat in his mother's lap, his eyelids starting to droop. Just before falling asleep, he whispered, "Mommy, I love you so much." Deep gently patted his back, her heart overflowing with love. "I love you too, sweetheart, forever." The soft glow of the nightlight touched the wall, where Jack's colorful drawings were pinned. The room was peaceful, and the child's steady breathing played like a lullaby. Outside, the world went on. But inside this little home, a new journey had begun, a journey of love, of spoken words, and of hearts that truly listened to each other. The story of Jack truly touches the heart and leaves the reader with deep emotions and reflection. It is not just a journey of a child learning to speak, but also a journey of love, patience, and hope for an entire family. The moment Jack finally said Dad and Mom after a long period of silence felt like a miracle that stirred the soul. Waiting is never easy, but Deep and James stood by their son with unconditional love, walking beside him through every difficult step. What makes this story so special is its raw, sincere, and profound emotions. Every little progress Jack made was a great joy, a gift life gave to those who never gave up hope. This story reminds us that in the journey of raising children, what matters most is not how fast they develop, but the love, patience, and unwavering belief we give them. Jack didn't just learn how to speak, he taught us how to listen, how to love, and how to cherish every moment we have together.